Welcome back to another live and amplified Indie Fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we have a returning special guest almost to the date 1 year ago. I think we figured probably within 10 days or so. We have Amy Jo. How's it going today?
Hey, yeah, I'm good, thank you. I was just saying I've got a little bit of a cold, so please excuse my nasally voice today. But yeah, I really wanted to do this. I really liked our last chat, so I really wanted to catch up with you and see how you're doing. And yeah, I'm happy to be here.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And honestly, if I'm being 100% honest, had I not seen you go live on Instagram yesterday, I probably would have forgotten about the podcast this morning because I, I just got back from CMA Fest on Monday and I was just like, okay, I've got enough interviews to kind of get me through. I have a few like podcasts that needed to get rescheduled, so that's going to be that. And then I remember you messaging me while I was in Nashville and just like trying to confirm up the time or whatever it was. And then I saw you go live on it, and like a dum dum, I forgot to write it down on my calendar. Okay, 9 a.m. or whatever it is. And then I saw you go live on Instagram yesterday, and I was like, "Oh crap! What day is that? Is that tomorrow? Is that Sun? What it
Oh,
was." So, but yeah, I'm glad we got a chance to sit down and chat a little bit, or we're gonna get a chance to sit down and chat a little bit and catch up because you seem to be very busy this year.
yeah. Well, firstly, I'm honored that we're doing this. If you've been to CMA Fest, because that must have been like insane, and I can imagine you're just still kind of taking it all in. It's something
Yeah.
I dream of even visiting to go and see. Never mind even want to play. But yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, this year's been hectic to say the least. Not even just with my music, but everything else. Like I graduated a couple of months ago and I'm doing a master's at the moment, which is nearly finished. So even just that side of my life was so hectic. And then obviously my music that I was doing pretty much full time. So I haven't really slept a lot this year and I have been traveling everywhere. So yeah, it's been great, but really tiring as well.
That's awesome. That's really cool. It I said it at the beginning of the year and like everything that's happened so far with a lot of people that I've sat down and chat, 2024 has just had the feeling of being different and like in a good
Mm.
way, not necessarily a bad way. Like there's just a lot of us have been putting in the work over the last 4, 6, 8 years, like however long it's been. And seems to be the year that it's starting to pay off, and for yourself included. I've seen a lot of growth. We were talking about your song. Oh, what song were we just talking about? I just
Caught me on a bad day.
Yeah, caught me on a bad day. I was like, it's bad day something, but I can't remember. But caught me on a bad day, and how it like over the last year, it's just really started to take off for you, which is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's something you never really expect. I sort of see music and releases as kind of like you sort of put something out and you really don't know how it's going to be received. You don't know if it's going to do anything for you or not. You just kind of put it out, almost hope for the best a little bit, but you're kind of you just I just see it as like momentum. I like to just keep putting things out, and one of those things will stick and maybe one won't as much, but it's all like part of the process, and I enjoy writing anyway, so it's no hardship for me to just keep writing and releasing. But it's interesting to see which ones sort of pop off and which ones yeah, not which ones don't, but which ones perform
Yeah.
better than the other. That's always very fascinating.
Oh yeah, and I thought it was really interesting that it was the radio edit version that kind of caught and started to catch a little bit, which was because I don't even think in those terms of doing like a radio edit version. I've told a lot of musicians to kind of follow that three version release strategy where you have your fully produced, you do like an
Mm.
acoustic, and then you do I keep pushing like the idea of doing like features on the song, like like a remix almost, just because I think that's an interesting kind of way to do it. But the fact that you released a radio edit, it's like that makes sense too. So
Yeah, I mean, I'll give quite a lot of the credit to that to my publisher as well, because he's amazing and he can really see things in different ways that I can't always see. And I remember him suggesting a radio edit, and I was like, oh, you know what, that makes so much sense, because the song was quite long as well, and
yeah,
it cut this length down quite a lot. and it kind of gave it a little bit more of a commercial poppy feel, which I think worked really well for like a radio sort of track. So yeah, I'll give him props for that. That was a great shout.
Yes. So it was more of a radio edit for time, not necessarily content.
A bit of both. I mean, I say that it's probably not that much shorter. It feels shorter, but at the end, you hear the tagline sort of like 5 or 6 times, whereas in the
Yeah.
original, they say it once at the end. So it kind of keeps going round and round, and I think that was a good little twist on it. And it's really you can sing along to it more. It's like a driving song now. I feel like you're in your car and you're just singing along to the tagline, and I think that really helped as well with getting it to be played on more radios.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And then so that was last year, and this year you're already up to song two that you've put out. It
Yeah,
just dropped recently last week. So you're staying busy this year. That's exciting.
yeah, I definitely didn't want to have too long between releases. Like I think that with my favorite artists, I'm always like, right, when's the next one? When's the next one? And if it takes 2 years, I understand that things take a long time for it to be someone's best work, but I also
Yeah,
just didn't want to be too perfectionist about it. I wanted just to make sure that I did my best and got it out, because I feel like momentum is quite important to me.
yeah.
So yeah, I've gone in with this year thinking like, let's just get out some singles, like keep the ball rolling, and yeah, see what works again. And I kind of see it a little bit as an experiment, like which ones are doing well, and it's nice to be able to put out so much stuff, really.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those things where I think there's a difference. Like you want the song to be good, but for me, it's like you want the song to feel good and not
Mm.
necessarily be perfect. Because if you feel good with the song, I think you're gonna enjoy promoting it, or you're gonna enjoy playing it, or you're just gonna enjoy the process a little bit more. Where if you've stressed yourself out so much that it's like, oh, I got to get this song just right. That G chord just isn't doing it. What do I do? And you just kind of stress over the fact. I think you kind of get burnout on the song a little bit. But if you just kind of wait until it feels good for you and then move on and release it instead of waiting for it to be perfect, I think that's kind of the key with releasing music nowadays.
Yeah, and I think nothing that we ever do is going to be perfect anyway, so it feels like an impossible task.
It is kind of an impossible standard, isn't it?
Yeah, and I also I'm not really about that in my personal life. Like I'll never try and purport to be perfect in any area of my life. So it makes sense to put music out that I'm proud of, but I'm not gonna fuss about over all the little details, because it's like with like even doing my makeup in the morning, there'll always be a little bit out of place. There'll always be a funny lip liner gone wrong. It's fine, like that's life, and I kind of like to give myself that grace that like there's nothing's that serious,
Yeah.
So just put out your best stuff and do your best every day. Really, that's all I try to live by.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk about your new song, Young, in Love, and Broke, which I think is a sentiment a lot of people can kind of relate to, especially this day and age. How long have you been sitting on this song?
Well, I'm glad you said it's relatable. I was definitely hoping for that when I put it out. I think for like 2 years.
Okay.
I think it was around the time we were recording the first EP. So it was just after that, I think, that I wrote it. So yeah, I've been sitting on it a while, but I kind of had a feeling that it was going to be a good song. Like I kind of get those feelings or I don't quite quickly, and that was one where I thought, oh, this has something in it. But yeah, I feel like it's definitely relatable, and I've had a few messages actually of like personal anecdotes and stuff about how relatable the song is to them, and yeah, it feels nice to put something out that people are really resonating with. But yeah, I'm really excited to finally have it out, and I think it's a slightly different sound to the last EP as well, so it's quite interesting to take a little bit of a different direction.
Yeah, for sure. Now, is this building to another EP, or like, what's kind of the thought process there?
So I actually this year I'm releasing singles, but I'm
Okay.
actually planning to do an album. So I really want to do like a big. I have so many songs lying around that I just want to get out and recorded. So after this year of a few more singles, I am hoping to release an album next year. So hopefully 10 or 11 songs on there. Yeah.
Nice,
Big,
nice,
big.
nice. And so with Young and Love and Broke, are you going to kind of follow the same release strategy as you have been with like On Days Like These, or uh what was the other one? Caught Me on a Bad Day. There it is. I don't know why
Yeah.
that one trips me up every time. But are you going to do like different varying versions of like an acoustic, or whatever?
Yeah, good thought actually, because I'm definitely thinking of doing an acoustic version
Nice.
of that song because my guitarist is insane. Like he also produced the track and he's so talented. And I think having him do the sort of solo blues thing acoustically could sound really interesting, and it's a totally different sound. So I think we've already discussed doing that. But in terms of a radio edit, we haven't actually done a radio edit for this song. Maybe that's something we could do in the future. I'm
Yeah,
always open to people like remixing my stuff. So if anyone wants to do that, please go ahead. And I'm always open to hearing people's stuff. But yeah, and I think as well, even with an album, I'll definitely be releasing songs kind of one by one, sort of drip feeding them as opposed to putting it all out there in one go. So it'll definitely be like I want to make the most of every song and put out a video and a music video and that with each one as much as I can do.
for sure, for sure. Is artists remixing each other's music, especially in the more like singer-songwriter realm, is that a common thing out in the UK, or is that something that you find a little bit more interesting as personally?
In terms of is it common, I'm not actually entirely sure. I have seen a few people remixing a lot of like pop tracks into a more dance sort of sound, but I've also seen people remixing like singer-songwriter stuff into all sorts of different genres. But I'm just very open to working with a lot of people. Again, I'm not sure how common this is, but I really like the input of lots of different people because there's only so much I can see from my little bubble, and getting as much perspective as possible, even in the production or even in just how people might see the chorus or the verse. At the end of the day, like they're the people listening to the song, so I kind of want these people to have input and sort of tell me what's what they think. And I'm very good with criticism, I think, so I'm quite good at taking that if I need some criticism, and it actually really helps when you get some critique. So yeah, I'm always
Nice.
open.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you also released a music video,
Yes.
which did that come out the same day? Did that come out the same day as the single, or was that a little bit later?
It was like 5 days later. Yeah.
Okay. I saw that you released the or actually, the first thing that tipped me off that there was a music video when I was listening to Young and Love and Broke on my phone. Oh, the
Mhm.
vertical video or whatever. I was like, oh, I bet she's got a visualizer or a music video out. And then about an hour ago or so, I was like, oh, let me go check that out and confirm that. So that's cool.
Yeah, I had two actors come in. I not a lot of people know this, but I did used to do quite a lot of acting. So I used to
Mhm.
go to auditions and sort of TV screen acting, and I had a little part in a UK soap. It was like two episodes, so nothing major, but I sort of got to meet a lot of actors during that time. And there were two that really stood out to me in my classes that I thought were just super talented. So I messaged them and I was like, do you think you'd want to do this? And they were like, yeah, defo. So they turn up and we had such a good day. We were in this like flat that all the walls are just plastered. So there's nothing in the flat. It's literally a completely bare room, and then they're like throughout the video they're decorating the room and like just taping up fairy lights to the walls and like bringing out the possessions, and by the end of it I was like, I want to live here, this looks so cozy, this looks great. It was just the nicest day, and we had some chips as well because it was in Morecambe that we filmed it, so we had some chips at the local chippy, and that just sort of sealed the deal and a great day. Yeah.
That's really cool. That's really
Mm.
cool. It's such a good music video, and I haven't filmed it yet, but I've started doing a music video critiques on
Ah, yeah.
my YouTube channel, as just kind of like, because I spent a lot of years doing like film and stuff like on the independent level, so working as a director of photography, producer, all those different things. And I was like, you know what would be really interesting is if I started looking at these independent music videos and just not being like overly critical, but just like little things that, like little critiques almost, but just trying to be positive about it. So
That's well cool. I love
yeah,
that. That's really unique as well. I don't feel like I've seen that many people do anything like that, really. I've seen people do it with songs, but
yeah,
not as much with like the video, like the visual. That's
yeah.
cool.
It's one of those things where it's like I have such an appreciation for music videos, especially on the independent level, because I understand how daunting it is because it's like it's an investment. Like I understand that right off the rip. And it's like, um, just how expensive it is. And then if you don't have the ability to film or edit or any of that stuff, it's like, okay, now I gotta go hire people, just all
Yeah.
these different things. So yeah.
Yeah, it's such a I mean, a lot of people say I've heard this from a few people not really to do music videos because of the expense and that it's so time consuming and things. But I think for me it's so important to get across the message of the lyrics because you kind of I think when you're listening to something, you have your own interpretation of what you're listening
Hmm.
to. But in the music bit, and I love that, and I'm like, go ahead, take any interpretation you want. But in the video, it feels like my time to like really show what I had in my head. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, this
Yeah.
is what I was thinking when I wrote this, and I think that's my one chance to get like that across. So, yeah, I'm all for it. But the budget thing is definitely something to overcome, and you've got to find ways to do it. And
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
thrifting.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's like that's what I really appreciate about the whole thing because it's like, okay, you're trying to it's when like the real creativity comes out. Like yes, you can have creative shots and all that fun stuff. That's cool, but when in the back of your mind you got this idea for a cool setup, but you've only got $500 or like you got a really
Mhm.
limited budget and it's like how do I make this grand idea work on this limited budget? And then, like you said, thrifting and just kind of finding a way to make it work. I think that's the more interesting part. So,
Yeah, and in a way, it kind of I don't see that as a setback. I see it more as like it kind of allows you to be more creative because you
yeah,
have to harder. And also, I think it lets people in on like the journey a bit more. Like, I can't afford to do all these elaborate things, but I'm trying as hard as I can to make something interesting with the resources that I have and the team around me. So I think it kind of lets people in on the journey and as things hopefully progress and we get a bit more budget one day and things and it might be cool to see the journey of that and hopefully they'll get better but you never know maybe people will prefer them when there was no budget you just don't know.
right, right. I mean, I've
uh,
seen a lot of really good music videos where it was just, hey, I got a friend with a camera and we shoot it for free. I've seen a lot. It's all in the eye of the creativity and yes, what you have available to you makes a difference, but if you have a good song with a good idea, that's the main starting point right there. Like that's what makes a difference. So
I 100% agree. Yeah, yeah, fully.
so yeah. So with everything kind of out now, so you got the new single, the music video for the single, and then you
Yeah,
kind of mentioned that you're looking at trying to do an acoustic version, and so you're going to stay busy this summer, which is really cool. What's kind of where's kind of your headspace at right now? Are you writing? Are you like just looking at the next single, or you kind of want to just give the current release as much of a push as you can? Like where are you kind of at mentally right now?
that's a really good question because I actually struggle with this every day, like where to put my time and energy because
Hmm.
I really understand that like where your what is it? What's the saying? Where your energy goes, no, where your mind goes, your energy flows, something like that. I
Yep,
can't remember.
there you go. I think that's what it is.
So I'm very aware of that. So at the moment, there's sort of three things going on in my head. So I sort of block it out into weeks. So at the moment, I have like a week on the releases and moving forward the next releases. And then I'll have a week on writing for the next bit. And then I'll actually have a week on my dissertation because I've got my final dissertation is due in August. And then
Oh,
obviously once that is finished. But until then I have to dedicate, a couple of weeks to that. So I do it in weeks. It gives me like a week to get into something, but then also when I get a little bit tired with it or I'm a bit like frustrated with something, I can move on to the other thing and let the other thing sit. And it's really worked. It's really worked for me in the last few months. So that's my strategy, and I'll go with it until it stops working.
Right. That's cool. That's cool. I do remember us talking about that you were getting your master's degree or your is it masters or doctorates?
No masters,
Okay.
doctor. Oof, that's a
Eh,
whole level.
fair, very fair. And it's in economics, right? If I
Yeah, so my undergrad is history and politics, but I go to the London School of Economics for my masters. So yeah, that's just been 1 year, and then yeah, finish in August. But I'm not actually on campus anymore. I'm just doing the dissertation from home. So
nice.
yeah, but it's been amazing, and I've loved being in London. That was a huge transformation because I live by the sea, and I'm from a small town in the northwest of England. So to go from there to London on my own as well, sort of taking the tube every day and going to campus, it was yeah, I got over a lot of anxieties. I'll say that.
Fair, fair, fair. You mentioned that you're uh from the northwest of London, which obviously we talked about the last time you were on and growing up there and whatnot. I actually recently found out I have family, like extended family, like my grandpa's on my mom's side, his family's from the UK, and so I have like some second or third cousins that live out there.
Oh wow,
And
whereabouts?
uh, from everything I can gather, it's a city called Withnell Mill.
Withnell Mill.
Yes, or yes, that's what it is.
And
It
which sort
uh
of like region?
it's just northwest of Manchester. It's like an hour northwest of Manchester.
Oh, okay. So Manchester's like an hour from my hometown. So
Gotcha.
I there.
Uh,
Um,
what I tell people is it's in between Manchester and Blackpool.
ah,
So
well, yeah, okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like, I don't know how to pronounce this, so I'm just gonna throw it out there, and it is what it is.
Yeah, that's
So,
all like Northwest region. Yeah, so I know both of those places well. So anywhere in between, I've probably driven through it and not
yeah,
clocked the name of where that is. Yeah.
it ha it happens to me all the time. I drive through Texas, or when I'm through driving through Texas, somebody be like, "Oh, you're going past this city." I'm like, "Sure, I don't know.
Yeah, no,
I've driven the
that's
road 100 times, but I don't know." So,
oh,
um,
I'll have to do a
that's
trip.
right. It's one of those things where it's like I've been trying to do a trip to the UK for a long time, pretty much since the beginning of the pandemic when I moved the podcast online. And every year people are like, "Hey, you should come out for this or you should come out for this." And it's like, I will, I promise. It's not that cheap of a flight to make, especially at this point in my life. It's like I've got other commitments I gotta kind of handle, and the
Yeah.
occasional trip to Nashville isn't that bad in comparison to going to the UK. So
Yeah, I mean, in terms of music, there's some cool things going on in the north, but I would say London is probably the best place for music
yeah,
as well. Yeah, you're kind of going quite far out if you come into Blackpool, Manchester area. You
yeah.
kind of come the sticks, as we'd say.
But to be fair, that's the type of stuff that I like to do. I don't like to do the traditional touristy stuff. It's like, oh, go to London, go to the bridge, go to the Big Ben, just do like all the traditional stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's fun
Yeah.
for about an hour. But if I'm going to be there for an extended period, I want to go
Oh
to
yeah.
the north. I want to go to the south. I want to do like more traditional UK stuff. So like if there's a bar you go to and hang out at that's just like a cool local spot, that's the stuff I want to check out, not necessarily the touristy stuff. So
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah. I think I feel the same way about America actually. Yeah. I apart from New York because I'm desperate to go to New York and see as many tourists. I want to be the biggest tourist anyone has ever
fair,
seen
fair,
step foot. But everywhere else I'd love to just kind of live as the locals, just like wander around and see what's going on. So I do fully understand that.
fair, very fair. I have I guess not no interest in going to New York, but I don't know. It's a big city. I'm good. So
Yeah, I mean, I would probably be exhausted, but I've watched so many movies and films in New York that I just feel like I belong there. It's like
yeah,
it's so silly, but I've just watched so much that I have to go and see it all.
fair, very fair. It's one of those things where yes, I will go to New York one day, but it's going to be one of those things where I go do like a couple of things and then I'm just socially drained because I went to we were talking about me going to CMA Fest and I was
Yes.
just doing podcasts all day and I was like it was like a 6 or 8 hour day and I'd go home and I'd just be so drained because it's like that was so much social interactivity that I not that
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable with it, but it takes a lot for me to do that. So
Yeah, and I think even for like the most extroverted of people, there comes a point, doesn't there, where it's like, just I need a nap. I'm really extroverted, but yeah, I've done like a week of this release, and I've spoken to like quite a few people, done a
yeah,
few interviews like that, even just talking on my story and telling people like that the song's out, and I'm really tired today. Like I
fair.
think it could be my cold as well, but I'm like I need to nap now. I need
Yeah,
to hibernate and then pop up again. But yeah, I fully get it.
fair. It's getting to the point now where it's like we'd mentioned this before we jumped on here. Like I've got a few more podcasts that I got to do over the next like few weeks where it was like they were scheduled before I went to CMA Fest, and so it's like okay, I'm gonna go ahead
Yeah.
and get those scheduled out. But once I get the few of those podcasts done, I'm taking a break till like if I could push it till September, cool. If not, mid-August, you know.
Yeah. Do you like a schedule? How far ahead of time are you with all your recordings? Like, are you like a month ahead kind of thing? How's it
Oh,
work?
right now I am 11 weeks ahead.
That's amazing.
Right? Well, because I went to CMA Fest and I did 43 interviews. And if I release them all as individual interviews, that's 4 a week, and that gives me 10 weeks. And then, so the three extra, that's 11 weeks. And that's not even including this interview or the other
Yeah.
few that I have. So, I mean, theoretically, I'm like 3 months ahead of schedule right now, which is great. But I also
Yeah.
know I'm going to let that 3 months get away from me and be like, oh, I got to play catch up again, that whole thing. So,
So who sorry, I keep asking you questions. Who was your favorite person that you interviewed then at CMA Fest? Are you allowed to like give a sneak peek of who it could be?
so there was a lot of favor. So I'll kind of answer this question in a few different ways.
Okay.
There was a few people that are always like the consistent ones that I've done a lot of interviews with. So it was like they're a little bit more independent. It was like the Just Kelly Adams of the world, the Mark Taylor, so there was a few that were like I've had them on a few times, so it was like there's a comfortability factor where it was like, oh hey, how's the kids, or how's the just like there was a certain comfortability factor, and those are always my favorite, where it's like you don't necessarily have to jump right into the business. It's kind of like we're just kind of talking as because we're so comfortable with each other. So it was like that. And then some of the bigger names that came in, those were really cool because it was like, okay, I can hang with the bigger names and not come off like an idiot. And so that was fun. So yeah, the two extremes, like the people that were like they're 12, 13, 14 interviews in on the day, and I'm still able to get like a decent interview out of them. That shows me it's like, okay, I know what I'm doing, and
Yeah.
that's kind of rewarding. And then you also have the ones where it's like, I've interviewed these guys 100 times. I know exactly what they're going to do. I know exactly what they're promoting, and it's just kind of comfortable. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's good you've got like a variety with
Yeah.
that. It keeps, doesn't it?
Yeah. The hardest ones were like the ones that kind of came up very last minute, and I
Mm.
didn't really have a whole lot of time to kind of prepare.
Ah,
So
put on the spot.
yeah, and I mean, I could still get a decent interview out of them. It's just kind of like that. There's not a whole lot of depth there, if that makes sense.
Mm.
So, but what have you been getting into recently? Obviously, you're remaining busy with school and all that stuff, but what have you been doing outside of all that?
I mean, I've definitely been getting into a lot more country that's kind of under the radar, I would
Mhm.
say. Um, I've been enjoying Hayley Whitters a lot
Okay.
recently. Alexandra Kay,
Yep.
Ash Cook. I mean, Jordan Davies is really big, but I've been getting into his albums. But yeah, I've definitely been listening and immersing myself in a lot more of the scene, which has been really interesting and fun. Because I didn't really get a whole lot of time to actually listen to music last year. So
Mm-hmm.
I made that a thing before I do this album. I wanted to like feel like I was part of that world for a little bit
Mm-hmm.
before I writing again. But what else have I been doing? I feel like my whole life was just studying for this whole year.
Yeah.
Trains. I'm always on a train. I'm always going somewhere. Um, I also revamped this music room. I should have my lights on. I do normally have like fairy lights in multicolored lights here, and then I
Yeah.
have this. Can you see like a little wall of?
Yeah. That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, so I've been revamping in here and then getting back into like fitness a little bit because 2020, that was that was embarrassing. Yeah, like a good 2 years of nothing. So I've been doing a lot of that as well. But yeah, it's just a bit of everything. I'm very much someone who just loves everything and dives into every hobby.
Fair. Very fair. I keep telling myself I need to get back into the gym, and I think I'm kind of waiting. I'm procrastinating on it is essentially what I'm doing. But I think after I make my next trip here in a couple of weeks, I'm going to kind of really button down and being like, okay, we're going to do it 3 times a week or whatever. And
Yeah.
that's going to kind of be it. So,
Yeah, I mean, COVID just I feel like either you thrived in COVID with the fitness thing, and there were these people doing like home workouts all day long, and that
mhm.
was not at all. Or yeah, you kind of just became a couch potato, which was me.
Yeah, yep, yep. I,
That's
I
fine.
gained, I gained 40 pounds during COVID. I felt really bad. Like it was very bad.
Oh,
So
absolutely healthy and great. So
fair, fair, fair. Oh, you'd mentioned that that you've been discovering and looking more into the more independent side of country music and the more
yeah,
underground stuff, which is really cool. That there's so much good music out there, especially now. As when I was at CMA Fest, it was like so many good UK artists that were just kind of there, and I'd never heard of them before. And they're like, "Oh yeah, that's so and so." It's like, okay, well, let me add them to the list. Let me add, like so many UK artists, so many Australian artists. It's like this is crazy. This is really cool though that like country music is really starting to form its own style, especially in the UK.
yeah, and I also think I've said this a couple of times. I feel like country music in the UK is taking on its own kind of genre almost, like its own
Hmm.
form. I can't sing about like trucks. I don't have a truck, and I don't drink beer either or alcohol. And I feel like there's so many things that you hear in country that I can't necessarily sing about and have it be authentic.
Hmm.
So I think a lot of people in the UK, they found like their own things that are like unique to
Yeah.
the country in the UK, and like for me, like the sea and walking down the canal, like these are kind of like the things I sing about because it's what I can relate to. So I feel like it's taken on its own form and it's become like this unique, different thing. But yeah, there's a lot of great acts in the UK. I'm actually playing the British Country Music Festival this August, and there's a few American acts as well coming over, and there's a
Hmm.
few European acts and some amazing UK acts. So I'm really looking forward to actually seeing like so many of them in one place.
Yeah.
Really good to be part of that and watch them all.
That's cool. I was invited to that a couple of years ago. I think that was like one of the first UK festivals I was invited to. And I keep trying to find my way over there, but like I said, it's financially it's not easy. So,
No, I think they film quite a lot of like content as well. I've seen
Mm.
on like the previous shows, they've got a lot of videos out and behind the scenes stuff. So I feel like you'd be able to get a glimpse into it anyway.
Oh yeah.
And if you FaceTime you anyone,
Right.
I'll get
It,
over
it
easily.
was one of those things where honestly, I didn't even realize they had announced the lineup for this year already, because I every year I kind of look at it and it's like, man, I really need to get there and do this, because it was British Country Music Festival I got invited to, and then Country on the Coast, which is down in the South,
Yeah.
and those were like the two big ones. And it's like I'm always a little apprehensive to do a big trip like that, where it's like, okay, you're going to do this trip and you've got 3 days and then you got to be back home. Like, to me, that seems like a waste of a trip to the UK.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
So
lot to cram, well, isn't it, in such a short time?
yeah, especially when I've never been there. And it's like, oh, you've been to the UK. Did you go see this or see that? It's like, nope, I went to a music festival and I came back, you know? So,
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, there's worse things you could do, but that is very true.
right. So, where are you kind of at show wise right now? Like, you obviously got the music festival coming up here in August. Are you consistently playing, or right now is it like get the dissertation done and then we'll kind of figure it out from there?
I wish I was like that, but I just seem to put more and more on my plate and then just sort of complain about it afterwards. But I've actually I've actually just organized a UK tour, so I'm doing like some small venues around the UK,
Mhm.
uh, and I'm calling it's called Friends You Meet Along the Way. So the people at each venue are people that I've met, like other artists in that city.
Mhm.
So some go back like 10 years, some go back 12, some go back 5, and it's all kind of within the similar genre. But the first one is in my hometown of Lancaster, and I'm doing it with Brendan Cleary, Harrison Rimmer, and Alexander Hume. And again, I've known all these three guys a really long time. I think they're all super talented. So they're going to be performing, and then I'm going to do my set. And then I go to Windermere, which is in the Lake District. And then I've got Kev Kendall on there, again, someone I go way back with. And then I'm doing another one soon in different locations, but I'm only announcing them as they come. So
Mhm.
I've announced one, I'm announcing the second one this week, and then just keep adding different dates and different locations. And if they go well, just keep adding more.
Fair. Very
Yeah.
fair. That's cool. I think that's kind of the best way to do stuff like that, is it's like see how the first one goes and then add a second one and then kind of build out the tour. You
Mm.
still call it, build, but especially when you're taking a huge gamble, I guess. I guess it's not even like a huge gamble, but it's still some risk involved. It like that's kind of the best way to do it, is roll it out show by show and just kind of
Yeah.
um over deliver, under promise, I guess is the best way to kind of word that one.
Yeah, and I think I've started with the shows that are closest to my hometown because I'm like, okay, so more people know me obviously in that area.
Mhm.
So as long as they go well, then I can maybe branch out and go to different areas, but I can't expect to sell lots of tickets in an area that no one knows who I am. So it's kind of like slowly building it up, but I think having like my friends do it with me as well and sort of combine all of our audiences together has been quite cool.
Mhm.
And also just feeling like it's not just my tour; it's like we're all kind of doing it together. That seems like it's going to be really fun. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm praying it'll be all right. We've already sold quite a lot of tickets for the first show. Actually, it's doing quite well. So that's going to go well, I think. And then I want to get some merch done as well for the tour because got to get some out there. I've got some Valentine's Day bags left over from my last
Nice.
set, and I feel like that's not going to cut it for this tour, is it? Because it's like, well, it's not Valentine's Day. What am I going to do with that? So
Fair.
I'm gonna
Fair. Yeah, that's where I try not to do themed merchandise or giveaway, because it's like once it's not that anymore, it's like, okay, what good is it? That whole thing. So,
oh, and then having to wait a whole year again to sell them again is like, whew, that's quite the that's quite the wait.
right.
So they're actually literally there's a few left, and they're on my little coat hanger here, and I'm like, are they fading? Is the sun getting to them? Because I need to sell those before they fade.
Right. 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 It's like, it's a whole thing. I get it. So, um, so have you obviously, you got the new song out and we'll keep pushing that as long as we can.
Thank
Um, have you decided on the release date for the next single, or is it just kind of wait and see and kind of see where we're at?
I haven't got the exact date, but I have some timelines in place. Like we're hoping the song will be done in like 2 weeks from now. So it's gonna be as soon as the song's done, master it in a couple of days, that's gonna be uploaded, ready to go a few weeks later. So it should be within 2 months. And then the video, I'm already sorting that out. I've got some actors again, which is really exciting. And I will give a sneak peek that we are actually going to Blackpool because you mentioned Blackpool.
Mm,
And we're going to film it there. So
nice.
that's good.
That's cool. That's cool. Now, is this a song that people have heard when you do go out and play shows, or is it 100% brand new? Nobody's ever heard it.
So actually, the reason I'm recording this is because every time I've played it live, people have said it's their favorite. So there's been a few moments like that. And I just had it in the set because I enjoyed the song. And I was actually playing at a show in Windermere. I
Hmm.
was supporting Jake Morley, and there was a guy in the audience. It was kind of an older audience, sort of like I would say 60, 70, 80. So not like 20, 30, right? And so the song is called Love Before the Internet. So these people were around before the internet, right? So when I've sung this to 20, 30-year-olds, it hasn't been quite as like a lot of people have really liked it, but it
Hmm.
hasn't to these people. And I actually got a note from one of them after I came off stage, and he'd gone and written a note, and he said like, wow, this song really explains how I feel, like this is what life was like before the internet and I want to go back here, like that kind of thing. And I was like, oh my god, this person's written a note, given it to me. And like, and I thought maybe there's something in this song. I did it again at a few other places, and someone was like, oh, my favorite's this one, Love Before the Internet. And I've had a few people now, so I thought, I'm going to have to record it. I didn't necessarily think it was a special one, but
Hmm.
other people think it is. So I thought, well, I'll listen to them and record it.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. I was going to ask what the title was, but that I was like, if she wants to say what it is, I'll ask a generic enough question that gives her kind of the opportunity to say if the title if she wants to. So,
Oh no, I'm kind of open about it because I feel like the only time you need to be super secretive about what songs you're putting out is if you're Taylor Swift or Drake or someone, and everyone's like, no, don't leak it. I mean, I'm not famous enough for anyone to probably care if I leak my own song or not. So I'm happy to tell people what my next song will be, and yeah, kind of bring people in on that journey. So that's the song, and it's all about life, what I think it was like before the internet. Yeah.
nice. That's awesome. I can't wait to hear it. And, it's hopefully there's an opportunity where we can sit down and do one of these in person, whether I'm over in the UK or we get you over here into the States. I'm sure you've mentioned a few different times New York and going to
Yeah.
CMA Fest in Nashville and all that fun stuff. And, it's we're trying to figure out a way to make more bigger trips. Yeah, I'm gonna sound like a second grader and not have good English. So
No, I'd love to. Like it's a huge bucket list thing that I want to go on. I just want to take a few months and just go to America and see what happens and just meet people and catch up with the very few contacts I have in America, of which you are one. Yeah, and meet those people as well, in person. But I'm so up for it. And yeah, I also just have so much respect for America and the country scene because that's what I've grown up on. It's what I've listened to. Like I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for that. So I want to be there and like immerse myself in it. And yeah, and I think I'd connect well with the Americans for my love of country. So yeah, I think it would be nice. And yeah, vice versa, you're very welcome here anytime, as we've said. But like you say, it's a hefty trip. It's a long trip,
yeah,
and yeah, you'd need to come for a while like to get
right,
the picture of England.
right. But then traveling across the states, I feel like I'd have be really comfortable traveling across the UK because it's not nearly as big as going from like Texas to Chicago and driving. I feel like if I did that in the UK, went from Manchester down to the south you or the south of England, what is that, like a 6 or 7 hour trip, maybe?
I would
Or is it
say, I mean, so my hometown's Morecambe, and if I wanted to get to Cornwall, which is pretty much the very
Hmm,
south of England, that would take a 6.5 hour drive. And then I'm about an hour from Scotland. So if you
okay.
went up, so yeah, from Scotland to here, it's probably 7 to 8 hours, and then that's the
Okay.
whole of that. So yeah, that would what? How much would that be in American?
That
Um,
so for me, that trip is like when I go visit my friend in Roswell, New Mexico. That's
ah,
that's like the next state over. But
right,
to be fair, Texas is a big old state. Like it's
yeah.
to get from like the western border of Texas to the eastern border of Texas, that's probably about a 15 or a 16-hour trip.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Oh my God. I get so car sick as well. So I would be I would be a mess at the end
right.
of that. Wow.
But
That's
it's not like a bad trip. Like if you go north to south, it's a pretty long trip as well. But you just jump on I-35 and you can go from the most northern point of Texas all the way down to the Mexico border, and it's really not it. You're basically on one road the entire way down, and but it's the fastest way to do it. So,
that's kind of nice. That's always appealed to me actually that with America that I feel like the roads are so much sorry, I'm putting my phone on charge.
oh, you're good.
I feel like the roads are so much smoother, they're so much more enjoyable.
It depends on what state you're in. That
Oh,
100% depends on what state you're in. So.
right. I wonder where I've got that from then that I think that as like a
Because
when
America wants you to think that their road system is good, but the infrastructure is taking a beating over the last several decades. So it yeah,
oh, I always
but
find it hard when I hear like realities of things that I have a vision of what it is in my head.
yeah,
Um, yeah, and yeah, because I just imagine like perfect roads and perfect views, and then I'm like, no, don't crush this dream. This is my
fair.
illusion.
I, I mean, to be fair, a lot of the highways are pretty good for the most
Yeah,
part, but like once you get off the highways, the county roads or the city roads,
yeah, like
yeah, yeah. So,
oh well, you
but
can't have it all.
right, right. But no, so that would be really cool. I'm trying to figure it all out right now. I'm actually trying to get a spot like a sponsor for the podcast that'll pay for some of these trips. Um,
Yeah.
and actually one of my dreams is whenever I go somewhere internationally, I'm really interested in doing taking train trips just because it's like it's the same benefit of driving without actually having to drive. Does that make
Ah,
if that makes any sense?
yeah, it does. I mean, I actually I just talked about the roads for like
Mm,
ages. I have not passed my driving test. So trains are all I have. Yeah, I
okay.
did my test a couple of times and realized very quickly that I am the world's worst driver. And I really don't say this lightly, like I am that bad. So yeah, trains are for me.
Well, to be fair, the from what I've seen, the UK driving test is really intense.
Oh, I'm glad you said that.
I don't know, like, because there's a couple of YouTubers from the UK that I watch, and one of the videos they did was they so it's a husband, wife, or like a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever they are, and they're like having this argument about who the better driver was, and so they went and took a driver's test
Right.
to find out who the better driver was. And I'm sitting there watching them take this test, and I'm like, I don't know if I could do half this stuff that they're asking. It's like parallel park, that's just kind of depending on what city you live in, that whole thing. But then to park, but you got to back into park. It's like I could do that, but it would have to be like a wide open thing, and I'd have, so like just the driver's test seems very in depth, to put it that way.
Yeah. Oh, well, you've made me feel better now. I feel completely incompetent because everyone I know has passed the test. And I actually had a car that I sold because I was so wound up with the tests
Yeah.
and that I couldn't do it. I sold my car. So I haven't bought one since, and I don't intend to learn for quite some time. I'm traumatized by the whole thing. Yeah.
Well, and to be fair, it seems like across England, at least, there's a really good public transportation system. Like, so,
There is. I definitely I used to feel that way until recently when I started going to London.
okay.
And the amount of cancellations, the amount of like delays, just being fined. I was fined because my phone died with my ticket on. Just there's been so many moments where I've been like, actually, it's not the best system in the world at all. But I can't really complain. I did get around London on it, and I can't drive, so I can't speak. But yeah, it's not the most efficient system that I've ever
Fair.
been. Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, what's your plan for the rest of the weekend? Obviously, it's like 4 o'clock your time, so Saturday's kind of starting to wrap up. But what's your plan for the rest of the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, so it's Father's Day on Sunday. Do American
Yep.
father is it
Tomorrow. It Father's Day always throws me off because I know Mother's Day in the UK and Mother's Day in the US are two different days.
mm, yeah,
And I didn't realize Father's Day was on the same day, which is very interesting. So,
that is weird. Why wouldn't they just have both on the same? I'm confused.
yeah, same. So,
Bizarre. I remember because I had a couple of like just American things pop up on my media
mm,
on Instagram because with the algorithm and stuff, and it would be like celebrating Mother's Day, and I'm like, oh, is it Mother's Day? And I've forgotten, and I'm like ringing my mom, and she's like, no, it's not Mother's Day, and I'm like, it's just so confusing. But
right.
yeah, so I'm on spending that with my dad. I think we said we were going to have pizzas and sit out outside and have that. But yeah, I'm very, very close with both my parents, so that will be a nice day. But then I honestly I'm gonna sleep quite a lot this week and catch up because I don't know if you can tell, I've got like bags under my eyes for the first time, and I've always prided myself on not having bags under my eyes. And this week I woke up and I looked in the mirror and I was like, that needs to go. Like I need to sleep now. I need to do it. So I
Fair.
am gonna set the whole week for bed, not doing anything, and just watching films and stuff. In all honesty, yeah.
Fair. Talking to somebody that I've had bags under my eyes since I was like 21. Like, I have the worst sleep habits out of anybody I know. So,
When you
yeah.
say worst sleep habit, as in like, do you stay up late or do you get up really early? Like,
Um, Combination of both. It's like I get up. See, the issue is I have a hard time staying asleep. Like I'll sleep. Like if I can get a 6 hour window of straight sleep, that's great. But like I'll go to bed at like 11:30, midnight, and then I'm up two or three times in the middle of the night just because for whatever
oh,
reason, like I'll get up and I'll walk around the apartment to go get a drink of water or something's bothering me, and then I go back to bed. So it's just kind of like I don't know what
oh,
it is. So
yeah. I mean, I feel like once I'm out and no one can get me up. They have to like drag me out. So I've never experienced this, but when you go to bed at like 11:30, do you look at the TV or do you look at a bright light? Because apparently that's quite that can disrupt your sleep quite a lot.
I do. I actually sleep. So I sleep with the TV on because I can't fall asleep unless I have like noise playing.
Oh,
So which is very interesting, but
oh,
recently over the last year, I've not actually slept in my bed properly. Like I sleep on it sideways, which is like a weird thing I've just recently started doing. Um, and
oh,
I think it was one night I was just really tired and I just crawled into bed and passed out. And I was like sideways in the bed. And for whatever reason, that night, I slept straight through the night, didn't get up, didn't, whatever. And I was like, okay, that's the trick. I got to sleep
yeah.
sideways on the bed. And then I've been trying to like recreate that. And
That's
It's
it. It's pressure on it now, isn't it? It's
yeah,
like this solution, and now all the eggs in one basket. I feel like you
yeah.
need to up again. Maybe do like upside down this time.
That could
Because
work. That would be very interesting. So,
yeah,
but no, it's a thing that I've been living with, and I'm getting better. Like I'm definitely getting better about sleeping. And honestly, I find that when I'm not in my own bed, I sleep better,
oh,
which is very alarming. And it's like, okay, but then it's also like, okay, maybe I need to just hit the road and be a perpetual nomad for the rest of my life until I learn how to sleep. I don't know.
I mean, whatever works. I feel. Yeah,
Yes.
that's interesting. I sympathize because I've never had this problem, and I can't imagine like I have to have so much sleep, and it must be quite annoying not being able to get through the night without getting up.
Yeah.
Uh,
I I think the big thing is I'm a hot sleeper. Like I get really hot when I sleep. Like most people
mm,
they like cool down and stuff, but for whatever reason I just get really hot.
uh,
And so maybe that's a lot to do with it. Like I just overheat when I sleep, which is
right.
very concerning, but
There's a lot of here to control. I feel there's a lot. Yeah, like we could have a fan, and then you could go the opposite way round. I was thinking you could get a new bed sheet and duvet cover because then it would feel like you were in a different bed.
Mhm.
Little, yeah. Um,
Honestly, I think that's kind of what it is because wow, we're really analyzing my sleep here tonight or today, aren't we? But no, I think what it is because recently it's been happening a little bit more where I'll wake up and I'm just like drenched in sweat. I recently bought a new, like within the last year, I bought a new cover for the bed, and it's a downed, it's like downed or whatever, so it's like super heavy, and
oh,
maybe that's what I need to do is go get like something a little bit more lighter.
yeah,
So
yeah. That sounds
it's
like.
it seems to like trap the heat, and it's like it's great during the winter, but
Mm,
like right now it's like 95 degrees outside, and yeah. So
wow. Wow.
anyways, that's the struggle right there. So
Quite the
um
diversity. I enjoyed that.
yeah,
It's
I
interesting.
appreciate it. That that this is ultimately what I want the podcast to get to, where it's just like, yeah, we plug the music, but then we just start talking about randomness. It's always fun. Um, but I appreciate your time. I'm glad that you are feeling better, and like obviously you like you'd mentioned, getting some sleep is going to help a lot. But um, if anybody wants to check out your music and all the fun stuff, the music video, where's the best place to find you?
So I'm Amy Joe official on pretty much everything, and Amy Joe is spelled Amyjo. And I actually mentioned this yesterday. If you type in Amy Joe on YouTube, it comes up with Amy Jo Johnson, who is the
Hmm.
pink Power Ranger. And she seems great, and I think she sings as well, but she has literally dominated the Amy Joe search engine on
Yep.
YouTube. So I think people find it hard to find my stuff. So I always just say type in a song of mine and it'll come up with my channel. So say like Amy Joe coming close and it'll come up. And
Yep.
then my website is amyjoeofficial.com, and that's got all of the other links on there. So
Or what I've come accustomed to when I go to look for you on Spotify, you're the third Amy Joe because
I'm okay. Oh,
you're the third Amy Joe. You got Amy Jo Johnson, like you had mentioned, which I didn't realize she was in music, which that's a whole I grew up watching her. That just kind of tells you how old I am. But and then there's another Amy Jo as well. So yeah, you're the
yeah.
third one. So,
I think the other Amy Joe does country as well. I think she's somewhere in Europe, but she seems cool. Yeah, it's funny having the same name because I can't change my name, so it's like I can't really do much about it other than just sort of sit it out. But yeah, I did think of having a stage name at one point, and I seriously considered it, but then I found out the stage name had other names as well. So
fair.
you can't
What
you can't online, I feel.
what was the stage name going to be?
Bibby.
Okay.
Just because it was a nickname that my dad gave me when I was young.
Hmm.
Uh, and he would always sing like Bibbity Bobbity Boo, which
Hmm.
is like a little tune. I don't know where that's from, some sort of thing.
Uh, um, um, Fairy Godmothers,
That yeah,
Cinderella, I think.
yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah, or Snow White. I feel like it's Snow White or Cinderella. I can't remember
No, I
actually.
think it's Cinderella because I think she had the fairy godmothers.
Ah.
Or no,
Oh.
wait. Dang it. Now my head's, or is it? Yeah, it's one of the Disney princesses. So
Yeah. And I just was he calls me Bibby still to this day. So I thought that's a cool name. But then there was a few other Bibbies and I thought, oh, well, I'm back to square one again with the Amy Joe. So I've just left it. My name's Amy Joe and that's fine.
nice.
Leave it as that.
Fair
Yeah.
enough. Or you could do like my buddy did when I was in high school. He found out that there was a lot of people that had his name. And so he started a Facebook group called the Josh Toth fan club, or the Josh Toths, and basically invited everyone that had his same name. And
Oh, oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
so that's
Oh, I
cool.
love
That'd be very interesting for you to pull off.
I mean, if we can get Amy Jo Johnson in the fan club of this thing, that would be really, really cool because she is like super famous.
Yep. Yep.
That would be cool for me, I feel.
That'd be really cool. I think that'd be a huge get for you. Be
Yeah.
like, be like, we've got all the Amy Joes in the world, and we're all music. No, yeah, but that's cool. No, but I really do appreciate your time. It's been an absolute blast. I'm glad we got this one in the books today. I know we were talking. I think originally we were trying to do it last weekend, but obviously I was in Nashville, and that just wasn't gonna fly. So,
No,
but
thank you so much for having me. It's been really good to catch up.
yeah,
But yeah, I appreciate it. So thank
yeah.
you.
Absolutely. We'll have to do it again. Hopefully it's not a year, but
Yeah.
we'll kind of wait and see what the rest of this year brings. And yeah, but once again, thank you so much for hanging out with us. It's been an absolute blast. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will catch you all later.